Good morning, everyone. Rachel here from Rachthestamper. If you've never joined me before, thank you for stopping by. Today, I'm going to share a card actually two cards. This one I've already made, and I'm going to make one similarly for my nephew. I have three nephews. Two of them, one's birthday passed. Bad aunt, not so good. So one's birthday passed, and then another one's birthday is Wednesday. So I got them both a gift, and I wanted to make a card to go with it. So I figured boys love bugs, dinosaurs, all that kind of crazy stuff. So I made this card, and we're going to make another card that's going to be very similar, but instead of using the dino, I'm going to use the Wiggle Worm stamp set, which is right here. And we don't have Wiggle Worm DSP, so I kind of improvised. I picked a color that I thought would be really nice with it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip you guys around, and I'm going to put you to my craft space. So, sorry if you're watching live. I know this can make people a little bit nauseated, but here is my crazy crafting area. So I did do a few things ahead of time, but I'm going to show you just a couple things. So you see this comes out, so you have a fun little bookmark. You could put something on the back if you wanted to, or write a little bit of a note, but this will slide right in here. So this one I used the T-Rex, which is adorable. This DSP is in the annual catalog, and I just backed it just for color onto a piece of Mossy Meadow. And then I did the inside, made it a little bit fun, so we can just write on there as well. So I haven't decided who's getting what, but I think this is going to be for the older of the two. So the second one, what I thought I would do, let me move this out of the way, is I would kind of similarly also use the dino paper. So if you can see, this has dinos, but I wanted to use something different. So I was going to go with the bugs. So instead I decided to use the flip side of this, which doesn't really look dinosaur-y at all. So I have went ahead and cut this. So I'll show you. I have this on a base of old olive. Where is my bone folder? There it is. Just give this a crease. So this is just a tall base. So it's 4 1/4 by 11, and then you score it at 5 1/2. And then I have a piece of Pretty Peacock, which is 4 by 5 1/4, and then I just cut this on the diagonal. And then I have a piece of the, I think it's called Dino Days DSP. So there's the other side. This one measures 3 3/4 by 5, and then same thing again, I just cut it on the diagonal. So all we're going to do is we're going to layer these together, and we're going to adhere one all the way down. Now, one other thing you could do if you wanted to is you could cut some pieces out of the bottom layer if you wanted to use it or conserve some of your paper. I did that actually with another card that I'm going to be sharing with you soon. And what I usually do is if there's something I want to cut, I'll cut it before I layer these two together. That way you can kind of get something out. You could even cut out a punch out of here if you wanted to. So lots of different stuff. And then I have for his bookmark, because they are a little bit different. This is, hey, happy Cyber Monday. This is 1 3/4 by 4. And then this piece is 2 by 4 1/4. So we're just going to layer these together. I do have the trio punch, so we can round the corner on 2 of those and put a hole in it, which I already did for this one. So I just rounded the bottom corners, and then I left the top square. You could do both, and then I just punched a hole through with that, the hole punch here, which is really easy. And you could always punch this with a hand punch if you have it instead, or if you happen to have a crocodile. And I was trying to keep it real like boy and dirty, so I have dirty, listen to me, but you know boys are dirty. So I have some burlap ribbon, and then I used the scallop black ribbon because I thought they would think that was pretty neat. To save time on this one, I actually cut this dinosaur out from the paper, because in case you have missed it, this paper does have large dinosaurs, and the dies actually do fit. Has lots of dies in this stamp set, or the die set, I should say, the coordinates. So we have Brontosaurus, if you're familiar with him from Fred Flintstone. We have the T-Rex, lots of different ones. I don't think they call him a Brontosaurus anymore. I think he has a different legit name. But anyway, there's lots of fun stuff in here. And there's also the egg. So you can actually cut this. I've made this before for a newborn card, because they have a stamp that in there that says look who hatched. So that's pretty fun to use. There's lots of other little cut embellishments that you can use as well. And what I tend to do is when I cut pieces, like if I don't really know what I'm going to do with it, I just kind of stick them into, so here's a great worm that I did. I just kind of stick them in with the dies to keep them handy. And then the same with the bugs. So the bug stamp set also has a die set that coordinates, so it's really cool. So we're going to go ahead and put this part together, and then I'm going to show you what I kind of have thought up for the rest of it. So I went ahead and mounted the firefly or lightning bug and the worm and praying mantis. So we're going to somehow figure out what we're going to do with those three. I also cut out the leaf image. This is from the bug die. And if you notice, you'll be like, wow, that looks crazy. This was actually something that I did a mask on, and I never ended up using the piece, so I just figured it would give it some different color. So that's what I went with instead. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these together. So I'm just going to use the liquid glue because it makes it a little bit easier. And I want to make sure that I get all the way into the corner with this. That way you don't have to worry about any pieces pulling up. And just layer that on. I kind of did try to stick it so it was pretty near to, oops, sorry, here I got a little goopy spot there, near to the bottom. But the nice thing about the liquid glue is if you want, you do have a moment or two that you can adjust it. So I just made that so it was a nice layer. So I'm going to do the same on this one. So I'm just attaching this to the panel. I do feel absolutely horrible if my nephews happen to ever watch this video that I didn't give the older of the two his birthday card. I told you all before, I love making cards, but I am the worst person ever at sending them. I mean, I know when his birthday is. It's the same day every year. It's awful. I'm awful card sender. So I'm going to just crease this just to make sure it's nice and flat. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glue on the back. And again, trying to make sure I get at least down to the corners and the tips. And I'm going to put the top one on first because this is going to go all the way on. Make sure I have that open correctly. So I'm kind of trying to put this up here so it's close to the corner, but it still has a border. So you will see a little gap there, which is fine. So just kind of eyeball where you want it. And then that one's going to go pressed fully. This one, we're just going to put glue on the bottom and the side. That way we can actually still slide the bookmark in the front there. And at first, I wasn't going to, good morning, Karen. At first, I wasn't going to put anything on the front of the card. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. So this is just going on the side, and the bottom has glue. Oops. That's because my finger's sticky. The portion right here doesn't have glue, but I'm not going to stick it in yet because I want to make sure this sticks down really well. I wasn't going to put this dinosaur on the front, but then I kind of thought if they pull the bookmark out, it would have been really a boring card. So that's why I added this to the front. So there. So he does fit in there really, really easily. It goes in there really nicely. You can kind of put it to the side. I will tell you one thing. If you're going to mail this card, it might cost you a little bit extra in your postage just because of the bulk of it. And the other thing you could do is you could always tuck this under and use the envelope punch board if you have it, which I do, because I like to make my own envelopes so they have a little bit extra. So I would go up to maybe the 5x7 size. That way it'll give you enough room to slide this in. But this will fit in a 5x7 envelope, which does 5x7 envelopes don't cost any extra postage if it's flat. But I know this one sticks up a little, so you might want to put an extra ounce sticker on there. So we have that. And I'm going to set this aside because we're going to let this finish drying before I jam that in there. So you have measurements for the mat. Yes, I did. So the DSP is 3 3/4 by 5, and then you just cut it diagonal. The Pretty Peacock is 4 by 5 1/4. And then you cut that on the diagonal, so those all mat together, and then it just goes onto a regular card base. So I did go ahead and cut this ahead of time, but I didn't actually pull it out. So this is also in the bug die, or the bug die set, I should say. And what I did was I just grabbed a scrap that I had and I lined this up, ran it through the Big Shot, and then I just moved it down again because I knew I was going to need one that was going to be a little bit wider than this. So I just kind of cut it long. That way I figured I could always snip it. So we will actually put this on and snip it. So this is just a scrap piece of paper. And the cool part is, depending on what you're doing, you honestly could use both sides of it. I know they stick up a little bit odd, but either side of this could be grass. So I will keep this and use it again. I did that before when I made a card as well. So there is that. Again, I already told you I cut out my leaf part. So I need a Whisper white piece. This is going to be for the inside. We're going to put that together. And I'm also going to need, oh, I wonder if I can fit anything on these scraps here that I have. I want to, maybe. I want to do a couple of these bugs. That way I can cut them out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the worm first. And actually, I'm going to do the worm in terracotta tile, and then I'll accent it with Cajun Craze. So these all have dies, so you don't have to fussy cut any of this out. So it's really simple. So I'm just going to stamp the worm first. Just set him on the side. And let's see, the firefly, and then I have the mantis. I'm going to do the mantis in Granny Apple for the outline part. Let's see if I can fit him on here somewhere. The neat part about these two, yeah, that's good. The neat part about these two is they do all have little accent colors, so you don't really have to fill them in. It's not really very much work, honestly, to stamp most of these things at all. And him, I'm going to do him in blue, and then we'll add some yellow, which, I don't know. I've never done him in blue before, so hopefully this will turn out okay. Let's see. We can fit him on this scrap. Well, that's good enough. So balmy blue for him. And then I'm going to grab the bright yellow for the inside of him. And I was just thinking, because I had originally I had this plan that I was going to do this with pineapple punch, because I don't use that very much. And then I forgot about it. So see, it just goes to show you. Okay, so for the bugs, this is the little part that goes inside the firefly. This is the mantis. This is the worm. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, here's my dies. No wonder I couldn't find them. Look at that. That kind of fits in there pretty nicely. Now that you think about it, without the plastic case. Maybe I'm going to do that from now on. Save myself a little space. So I'm going to do the inside of the worm. And him, I'm actually going to do with Cajun Craze. So let me scoot this over. And kind of line it up the best you can. You can always double stamp if you want to without re-inking it, so you have a little bit more color in there. So there's the worm. Then I'm going to do yellow for the firefly. And hopefully this will look okay. So since it's photopolymer, it's really nice because you can line it up. Well, it doesn't look so bad. We can add a little something to him. You can line it up pretty easily without feeling like you're going to goof the whole thing up. And last but not least, we have our mantis. Some people may call it, I think there's also a katydid. I'm not sure if they are or not the same bug, but I'm just going to stick with green for him. So I'm going to go with Call Me Clover. So there he is. And pull this off. This has a lot of really nice additions to the stamp sets. Tags, yeah, that's another good idea. So let me wipe this off real quick. My little mat here is just a little too wet. It's making a mess on everything. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pop these three with my Big Shot. And I'm going to cut these out, which nicely, and cut them all out at the same time. Hopefully they should line up well. Where's my worm? I also saw, in case you haven't seen it, someone else did the apple or pumpkin punch that we have, and they did the worm cutting through, which I thought was really cute. So that apple/pumpkin punch is going to carry over. That's one of the things I know is going to carry over. Put him on. Okay, so there's these guys. If I'm not mistaken, I think the carryover list comes out later today. So I'm really excited about that because there's a couple things that I want. But if they're not going to carry over, I probably won't get them. However, the stars are carrying over. I know we talked about that a while ago. Those are carrying over. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these little guys that I punched out, and I'm going to grab a blender pen. Where's the scrap? Scrap. I'm going to grab a blender pen and a scrap because I just want to make sure this is clean. I'm kind of just going to blend a little bit of this together just to give a little bit of shadowing to him. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to bring in just a little bit for the worm of crumb cake. So you can either squeeze the old pad, squeeze and make a puddle in the middle, or you can just dab off of this. But I just want to add just a little bit more color to him. You could always stamp him on a very light paper if you wanted to as well. All right, so there's that. And let's see. Make sure that's clean. I'm just going to move over. I'm going to do just the same with the mantis. I'm kind of just spreading around some of this darker green ink just to kind of fill in his body like. There we go. Not a fan of the kits. I could understand that. I felt the same way until I got that the one medley, but I feel the same way. Sometimes I have a hard time utilizing things correctly in there. I'm going to use Seaside Spray. And instead of using the marker, because I feel like it'll be a little dark, I'm just going to take a little bit with my blender pen and kind of fill in his eye. Just a little bit light. And I'm going to take the soft seafoam and just fill in just a little bit around him. Make sure he's just a little darker. There we go. All right, and last but not least, we have the firefly. I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a little Seaside Spray, but I'm going to do this one just direct. I'm going to bring a little bit down at the bottom. I'm going to try not to make these bleed so they don't turn green. So let's see if I can do it. Same thing with my blender pen. Just kind of bringing this in. And I'm going to do a little bit just to get a lighter shade from the stamp pad. Is there a heart to click onto? For this, no. The only thing you can kind of do is leave comments. Specifically when it's live, they don't actually stay. So, no hearts for this. You can give me a thumbs up though. When you're finished watching the video, it will post back to live. It does take a few minutes, but it'll post back live. And you can certainly give me a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. All right, and I want to do just one more thing. I want to put just a teeny bit of real red since his mouth is open. Yeah, and you can't share it till it's over either, yeah. You know, you know, YouTube also has some crazy rules. Kind of like Facebook. You know, they all have their own thing. So there's just a little bit. So this is pretty simple. Not too complicated. Other thing is, too, I didn't tell you this. These are all still current bundles in the big catalog. So these, if you buy them together, you do get 10%. 10% off. So that's something good to know. So I have my worm, my little bugs. I have this. Maybe I'll make him somehow be eating on the front of this worm or something. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I know I like the bugs, too. I think they're very cute. The other cool part about this is it has a lot of really good sentiments. So I like the dinosaur one because it does have some fun sentiments, but this one has a lot that you can use on lots of different things. For example, you could do, you know, wiggle worm card. I did one like that before. You make my heart flutter. Happy birthday, I like. Welcome. I think a lot of them are good work. This would be great for probably teachers to have as well. So I'm gonna put these back, and then I'm gonna grab I'm gonna use the same sentiment which I used before, which I felt like I left it out, but maybe I didn't. Thought I had my happy birthday. Well, dang, it's got to be around here somewhere. Oh my gosh, it's at the bottom. The other cool thing has this little grass scene you could add stuff into, which I think is really neat. All right, so, oh, Reach, happy birthday. You haven't played with it yet. Cicadas, oh God, no. Cicadas they are ugly bugs. If you've never seen them, they are something. We're going to do this real quick. So what I'm going to do is with the trio punch, I'm just going to put 2 of these ends in. Guess they could be cicadas if you wanted them to. And just round those. Same with this. Put this in. And round those. So there is going to line up just like that. Now with this circle here, it kind of gives you, it doesn't really have a guideline, so you kind of have to eyeball it. So usually what I do, even though you're only supposed to punch 1 at a time, this paper is pretty thin. So I usually kind of stick this in because it does go in straight. And I kind of eyeball where I think I want it. And then there you have your punch at the same time. Oh, goodness. Uh-oh. My YouTube froze. Still counting the time, so I don't know. I'm going to keep going. Hopefully that way when this comes up later, it'll be okay. I'm going to go ahead and just adhere this with some liquid glue. So I'm taking the DSP, put it on here. Just like that. You can hear me? I know. I don't know what if I stop the video. Oh, geez. This is something. Hold on. I'm going to put this together. So I know you can still hear me. So let me just take a peek here. I'm going to see if I can adjust my camera. So bear with me 1 second. Let's see if I can. Gosh, guys, I'm really sorry. That so stinks. Let's see if my Wi-Fi is on.